Welcome to another edition of Play It Through, and this time around it's Talespin, brought to us by Capcom. Now this game is another one of the great Disney-Capcom collaborations, and even though it's based on another one of the great Disney cartoons of the late 80s, early 90s, it actually plays a lot different and doesn't have too much similarities between the other games such as DuckTales and Darkwing Duck. And the game plays like a traditional horizontal scrolling shooter. But it does have a few unique twists that makes it an overall different game, makes it unique, and it's another stand-up title from Capcom, even though it's probably one of the least popular of the Disney-Capcom collaborations. Now, in this game, you play as Baloo the Bear, who is from Jungle Book. Many of the characters from the Talespin cartoon were based on the characters from Jungle Book. And you fly in your plane, the Sea Duck, basically delivering cargo. You work for a cargo delivery service in the television show. And so you have to deliver different packages in different areas, so you get to explore different levels, all while being attacked by hordes and hordes of random enemies. Now, the main villain of this game, as well as the main villain of the show, is Don Carnage, the leader of these air pirates. And you'll see him many times throughout the game. We just saw him earlier at the beginning of this waterfall area. He shot a few shots at us, and then went ahead and disappeared. But besides him in this game, we have to deal with many other random enemies that just have to go with different levels that we'll be exploring. There's a total of 8 different levels in the game, so it's a relatively lengthy game, especially with its difficulty. It's definitely one of the more challenging of the Disney Capcom games, and if you don't use the money that you earn throughout the game to buy the upgrades for the Sea Duck, you can definitely find that some of the later levels can be a real challenge. Now, what makes this game interesting, as well as a little bit tougher to get used to, is you can flip the plane upside down and go opposite direction. And by doing so, on most levels, what will happen is the screen will also scroll back with you, so you can actually backtrack to get certain treasure chests and other items and take out certain enemies that you didn't take out before, you accidentally missed while passing over them. This actually takes a lot to get used to, and sometimes you'll try to press the button quickly and the plane won't flip, and it'll be a little bit difficult to get used to that. Now here is the first boss, the submarine boss, that has 2 basic modes of attack. He has that spread shot, which one goes completely always in your direction, and then 4 other ones go up. And then he shoots a whole lot of homing missiles out as well that come at you at whatever level that you're at the time of when they reach you. So if you're all the way at the top of the screen, the missiles will travel all the way to the top and then come at you. Pretty easy first boss, but you have to get used to flipping the plane over to get him out quickly, or you can just, of course, wait for him to bounce off the wall and go back and then still stay going straight. Now, between each level, before we get our synopsis of the next level, we have an opportunity to buy upgrades for the ship. You can buy continues as well as extra lives, and then you have 4 ship upgrades. One's a rapid shot that allows you to fire 2 bullets at once. You have another shot that allows you to just keep firing as many shots as you want. It's definitely one of the better ones, which I probably won't get till late in the game. You have improved armor, which gives you more health. And then you also have a speed upgrade, which makes your plane go faster, so it's easier to maneuver through tight spaces. Until you buy the weapon upgrade to get more than 1 shot at a time, it's definitely annoying because it's one of those games that you can only fire 1 bullet out at a time. So if an enemy's coming at you close and you fire a shot, and it misses them, and it's slowly going off screen, if that enemy's coming towards you, you won't have the opportunity to fire another bullet at that enemy until your other bullets already left the screen. Now, thankfully, the first upgrade for the weapons is actually not that expensive, so I'll be getting it after this level. Now, this part right here, as I'm going through it pretty quickly, it looks like it's really challenging because of how fast the screen scrolls, but as you just saw right there when I flipped the plane right there, just to kind of avoid running into that mine, by doing so, you actually can back the screen up, so you can make it, go a lot slower and take your time through it. So once you figure out that the plane can flip backwards like that and actually help you through that area ends up not being too tough. But if you don't know to flip the plane, that area is definitely one of the tougher areas actually in the game to get through. Now, coming up is our second boss at the end of the second level. Each level isn't too long, but since you're on your first couple of tries, you're going to die a few times during the level, so the levels will seem longer than they are. Now, we fight a giant robotic baseball that lands on one side. Sometimes it'll just go back and forth a few times, which can get annoying, and then travels upwards and shoots a 3 spread shot, and then for the final one, or sometimes second to final one, he'll fire a 2-shot spread shot. So just slowly following him up. It's a little bit challenging to dodge, especially the reason why it's difficult to get used to the whole flying in the game is that you don't fly straight up or straight down like you would in most scrolling shooters. As you can see, when I go up or down, depending upon if I'm upside down or going forward, you go in a diagonal direction, which is technically more realistic for a plane. You know, when you're going to go down, you can't just literally move the plane straight up and down like you could with a helicopter. Once you get used to that whole element of the game, you start to realize how you get past certain areas, but that definitely takes probably a whole playthrough to really get the full hang of. Now, after that level, I went ahead and I grabbed the upgrade for the gun. As you can see now, I can fire 2 shots at once. Another little annoying factor, which you're seeing now in this level, is your weapons don't go through, random upgrades or random money things and other point scoring things. They'll just block the shot, and so if you have an enemy coming at you fast and you fire a shot and it accidentally goes into a bag of money, you may miss your opportunity to hit it, and it'll either the enemy will go past you or, of course, do damage to you. Now this is a cloud stormy level at night. The only thing really got to be careful about this level is there is sometimes, like right here, that the cloud is coming, sticking down, and you can't go through the clouds. They work like solid walls. So if you get caught on a piece of the cloud, especially like in an area like this, you can actually get stuck, and if the left side of the screen hits you, you end up losing a life because technically you got squashed. Even though you can flip upside down to go backwards to try to save yourself. So sometimes the whole physics of the game don't work as well as they should, but it's just something you have to get used to when playing this game. Now we actually are coming up to the third boss. This is definitely one of the more tough bosses, but I'll show you after a few times of him going back and forth. There's actually an extremely easy way to defeat this boss. What he does is he fires those shots at you, and you can duck down to try to avoid it, because when it gets near you, it's going to do that spread shot. Now right there, you really can't do any damage to him, you just got to avoid those shots. But what you can do is fire when he forms together, shoot him once, and then just back up, because when the bullet gets near you, the spread shot will go off before it hits you, and every time it'll just miss you. So it ends up being really simple. It just takes the time and energy to just wait for him to keep forming in order to do damage to him. After only a few hits, once again, he's taken care of. You can't just keep rapid shot the button, because they do get a little bit of an invincibility after each bullet that you do hit them with. So that can be a little annoying with some bosses, that you can get multiple shots off at a time, to kind of get that turbo button going, because unfortunately, they have that little bit of invincibility afterwards. Now, in between those two levels, I did purchase the speed upgrade, so my plane can maneuver a little bit faster. Now, the fourth level of the game is a haunted mansion. Capcom and Disney loved putting haunted levels in their games. There was one in, of course, Transylvania and DuckTales. There was also the Scotland level, which was a haunted castle in DuckTales 2. There was the haunted mansion actual level in the Adventures in the Magic Kingdom. So Disney and the Capcom games seemingly love these haunted house style levels. And they're always a nice change of pace. You always get like the flying inanimate objects at you, as well as ghosts and other baddies. Now these big ghosts, my big suggestion for fighting them is not to actually shoot them, because when you shoot them, they split apart and eventually break down into multiple ghosts, and having all those enemies on screen at once while trying to maneuver through different platforms and such can be a real pain. So I think it ends up being a lot easier to, when they come at you and all, just to work around them, fly around them, because after only a few seconds of them flying around, they disappear completely. Now, if you're going for a big point total or whatever, then of course you want to take them out, but my biggest suggestion would be just to avoid them, fly around them until they disappear. Now right here, of course, you gotta deal with the chandeliers breaking apart. When they hit the ground, the little pieces can hurt you, as well as the fire in the fireplace. For some reason, even though it's in the fireplace, I guess it's also in the foreground, so if you run into it, you take damage. And then that part right there is definitely an annoyance, with all the hands coming out of the brick walls and throwing stuff at you. Now, I avoid those last few ghosts here, and now we go up to the boss battle. Another one, this boss actually is pretty easy once you get used to him. He only has one move of attack. He's a big, giant, arms, 2 hands, 2 feet, a bow tie, which is his weak spot, and a hat, just kind of all standing there, nothing really connected. But he shoots the hand out at you, and you'll have the opportunity to go in when he shoots the hand straight, then go up, hit him a few times, he'll shoot that hand up at where you are, and when he does that, you can just keep going back and forth, avoiding the hand, because that's all he'll have to do damage to you. and the hand moves slow enough that it's pretty easy to dodge.